Hello everyone and welcome back for the second half of my January book haul. So all of the books I'm going to talk about in this half are physical books. Some of them I got from charity shops, some of them were pre-orders, and one of them actually was a Christmas present I got that I obviously haven't shown you guys yet. So I'm going to start off with a little stack of books that I got from charity shops this month. So the first one is another psychological thriller called The Lie by C.L. Taylor. I have a couple of her other books that I haven't read yet, but I've heard amazing things about this author. So I'm just going to read you the back of this one. It says, Jane Hughes has a loving partner, a job in an animal sanctuary, and a tiny cottage in rural Wales. She's happier than she's ever been, but her life is a lie. Jane Hughes does not really exist. 5 years earlier, Jane and her then best friends went on holiday, but what should have been the trip of a lifetime rapidly descended into a nightmare that claimed the lives of 2 of the women. Jane has tried to put the past behind her, but someone knows the truth about what happened. Someone who won't stop until they've destroyed Jane and everything she loves. So that sounds so cool. Obviously, a woman who has gone on to taken on a new identity and things like that. So yeah, really looking forward to this one and hopefully trying some C.L. Taylor super soon. The next one is another book that I know a little bit about, and that is Pygmy by Chuck Palahniuk. So I've always been intrigued by Chuck Palahniuk. Fight Club is the only one of his that I've read, but I have 2 others of his. I have Haunted and Diary, I think, and now I have Pygmy. All I know about this is about a little guy who, I think he's like an alien or he's some like otherworldly creature, and he finds himself in modern day America, and he's taken in as a kind of like exchange student by this very typical American nuclear family, and he really hates what he finds of America. He just doesn't like it at all, and he sets about with his little army of creatures like him to destroy America, basically, to just bring it down. And it just sounds really crazy and so weird, and exactly like Chuck Palahniuk, I can only imagine that there is a lot of crazy stuff that happens in this. So yeah, really looking forward to reading Pygmy, hopefully really soon, because it's pretty short. So yeah, looking forward to this one. The next one I got is Dead Kids Songs by Toby Litt. The back of this one says, the 1970s, summer, deep in the English countryside, 4 of us, a gang, waiting for war against the Ruskies. But our war, when it came, wasn't with them, and it didn't take place in the streets and fields where we thought it would, but in our homes, our kitchens and bedrooms. But there were no marvellous explosions, medals or cheering. There was glory though, more than enough glory for all, had all been inclined to take it. But by the time it was over, 2 of us would be dead. That sounds so intriguing. It reminds me a little bit maybe of Stephen King's It, obviously a group of friends tackling something internal in their town. But it sounds really good, quite creepy. I've heard that this is a little bit of a dark comedy as well, so I think it might be quite funny in places. But yeah, really intrigued by this one. The next one is The Slap by Christos Tsiolkas. I don't know. But this is a story of a man who slaps a little boy at a neighbourhood barbecue, and this little boy is not his son, and this kind of controversial, questionable action is just the start of a turn of events that happens in this neighbourhood, and how that little event actually affected everybody that was there. And it just sounds so good. It just sounds like a really interesting story. So yeah, really looking forward to reading this one too. The next one is The Forgotten Girls by Sarah Bladel, and the back of this one says, 4 days later, Louise Rick still had no answers. An unidentified woman's body was discovered in a local forest. A large unique scar on one side of her face should have made the identification easy, but nobody has reported her missing. As the new commander of the Missing Persons Department, Louise risks involving the media by releasing a photo of the victim, hoping to find someone who knew her. Louise's gamble pays off. An older woman phones to say that she recognises the woman as Lisa met, a child she once cared for in the state mental institution many years ago. Lisa met, like the other children in the institution, was abandoned by her family and branded a forgotten girl. But Louise soon discovers something more disturbing. Lisa met had a twin, and both girls were issued death certificates more than 30 years ago. Aided by her friend, journalist Camilla Lind, Louise finds that the investigation takes a surprising and unsettling turn when it brings her closer to her childhood home, and as she uncovers more crimes that were committed and hidden in the forest, she is forced to confront a terrible link to her own past that has been carefully concealed. That sounds so good and so intriguing. So yeah, cannot wait to get into that one. The next one is Weirdo by Kathy Unsworth, and this again sounds super cool. This one says Corinne Woodrow was 15 when she was convicted of murdering one of her classmates on a summer's evening in 1984, a year when the teenagers of Earnmouth ran wild, dressing in black and staying out all night, listening to music that terrified their parents. 20 years later, new forensic evidence suggests Corinne didn't act alone. Private investigator Sean Ward, whose promising career as a detective with the Met was cut short by a teenage gangster with a gun, reopens the case and discovers a town full of dark secrets and a community that has always looked after its own. Again, that sounds really intriguing, and yeah, really excited for that one. The next one is a book that I saw around a lot, I think like the beginning of last year, and that is Fierce Kingdom by Gin Phillips. And I think this is the story of a young mother and her little boy, and they go on a day out to the zoo, and something dramatic happens where she has to protect him because they are at risk of being killed or something like that. That's literally all I know. It says on the front, in a dangerous world we must protect those we love, and that's pretty much all I need to know. I've heard amazing things about this book, so yeah, really excited to get into this one at some point. The next little stack of books that I'm going to show you are all either pre-orders, and as I said, the last one is a book that I got for Christmas. So the first one is Love, Hate and Other Filters by Samira Ahmed. I have actually read this book, so I'm going to be talking about it more in my wrap-up. This is a YA contemporary about a girl called Maya who is an aspiring filmmaker. She always has her little camera with her wherever she goes, and her family are the only Muslim family in this little American town. And she is obviously dealing with all of the pressures that you would normally get from a Muslim family. Her parents want her to be either a doctor or a lawyer, but she is very serious about becoming a professional filmmaker. She is also torn between two boys. One of them is like the perfect Muslim Indian boy that her parents would approve of. He ticks all of her parents' boxes. And the other one is a white American boy who she has known since she was a child and now feels that she is in love with. So while she's dealing with all of that, a very terrible terrorist attack happens very close to their town, and the way that certain people in this town turn against Maya and her family because of this terrorist attack and their own racial prejudices is just so harrowing and so appalling. I was literally sitting there with my mouth open at the way some of these people were reacting to her as a result of this terrorist attack. It was just so horrible. But it was just a really lovely YA contemporary romance with some very serious and emotional and life questioning, moral questioning things thrown into it. It was just really lovely. So I will be talking about this more in my wrap up, as I said, but yeah, cannot recommend this enough if you are looking for a diverse YA contemporary. So yeah. The next one was another pre-order, and that is Saga Volume 8 by Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan. Obviously, with this being number 8 in the series, I'm not going to talk too much about the events of this book, but if you don't know, Saga is a comic series. We are following a couple who come from opposing sides of a warring planet and its moon, and they have a baby together, and they are on the run from various groups of people who are trying to catch up to them and punish them for being together and for having this baby, because obviously they are supposed to be enemies. But it is such an exciting, addictive comic series, and this volume was probably actually one of my favourites. It deals with some very serious topics in very funny and clever ways. There's some crazy characters thrown in there, some very graphic sex and violence in this series, so obviously if you're sensitive to anything like that, I wouldn't recommend Saga. But yeah, really loving Saga, and cannot wait for the next instalment because it ended on another really strange cliffhanger. So yeah, really can't wait for the next one. The next one is another book that I've already read, and I actually originally had this on my Kindle, but I loved it so much that I bought the hardback, and that is The Chalkman by C.J. Tudor. And can we just please appreciate the beauty of this hardback? I mean, it's just so gorgeous, it really is. So even the end pages as well, it's got those little chalkmen on it, and then it's just black on there with the kind of goldy, coppery writing on the spine. So this story is set in 2 time periods, and the first half is set in the 80s, and we are following the goings-on in this sleepy little English town. We are chiefly following this little group of children who are friends, and in order to pass the time, they leave each other little messages in chalk, which is basically, they know exactly what it means. They each have a different colour chalk, so they know who has left the message, and it's always like messages to hang out and to go to certain places and things like that. And then one day, a mysterious message in white chalk, which isn't any of their colours, appears, and this message leads them to a dead body in the woods, and we then learn who this body is. We learn about another string of strange unexplained deaths that have occurred recently in this town, and then there's another story strand 20 years later where the goings on of what happened during the 80s are still very much relevant to our characters' lives as adults. There's so much else going on to it as well. It's just such a beautiful multi-stranded horror story. I cannot even comprehend how much I love this book. I loved it so much. As I said, I actually bought the hardcover. I loved it that much, and I never ever buy hardcovers, but it was just so mysterious. It really was. There were twists and turns all over the place, and this is actually a mystery that I would really love to read again. And I don't often say that about mysteries, because I feel that, you know, once you've read them once, you're not going to get the same experience if you read it the second time, because you already know everything. But I would love to read this again because it's so creepy and unsettling. It's not like overtly scary, although there are some definite Stephen King elements in there. You can definitely see that Stephen King is an influence, but it's just so unsettling, if you know what I mean. And I cannot honestly recommend this enough to anyone who likes their horror and their thrillers and their mystery. It was just so good. So yeah, please read The Chalkman if you haven't already. The next one is actually a book that I am currently reading, although I'm not actually reading this actual edition, and that is Batman Nightwalker by Marie Lu, and this is the Waterstones exclusive hardcover. And can we please just appreciate the beauty that is this book? It is just so gorgeous. And then underneath the dust jacket, if I can get the dust jacket off, we have the little bat symbol there. I just absolutely adore these DC Icons exclusive editions that Waterstones are doing, and I absolutely love how it looks with my edition of Wonder Woman that's the same. I love them so much. I really love them. So as I said, I'm not actually reading this edition. I'm actually reading my US paperback edition of this that Book Depository sent me. I'm only a few chapters into it so far, but it is really exciting so far. I'm really loving it. So yeah, really excited to finally have a copy of this and to have this beautiful edition too. So yeah, really love that. And the last one that I'm going to show you is the book that I got for Christmas that I hadn't shown you, but you guys knew I was going to get it, of course. And that is the illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, of course by J.K. Rowling, illustrated by Jim Kay. I don't think I can express how much I love these illustrated editions of the Harry Potter books, and this is my favourite Harry Potter book. So this is the one that I was most excited for, and can we please just look at these illustrations? They are just, I mean, I know you've seen them like all over BookTube, but look, I can't get over the genius that is Jim Kay with these books. Look, they're just so lovely, and I'm so happy that I finally have Prisoner of Azkaban in this edition to add to my collection. So yeah, really love that I got this for Christmas. And that is it for my January book haul. What books did you get this month? Obviously, please let me know. I will leave all of my social media in the description down below. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I will see you very soon for another video. Bye bye.